I have like $240 to my name, and I'm living in LA. And I'm just in the studio every day for 16 hours a day.
Welcome to Bridges for Music Academy. The name is Umbas. The streets called me Ghost Bunny. Thank you guys so much for coming through today.
That's a fire name.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming and taking some time off your day to get some knowledge. Today we've got the one and only Gordo. Hi Gordo, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I just walked around Langa. This place is dope.
Ne?
Yeah.
Does it remind you of home a bit?
Yeah, it does. I grew up in Guatemala. People in the world that I'm in, you don't really see people that grew up in places like that. So like places like being here just does remind me a lot of home, because growing up in Guatemala is a lot like this. So it's very relatable, and it feels good. Feels good to be here.
I love that for you. Is it your first time in South Africa? Have you been here before?
No, I've been here. I've played Ultra twice.
Fire.
As Carnage.
Okay.
8 years ago. I'm 33.
Damn.
But I started when I was 21, and I've been up and down. So I've been here, but I've never been to the other side of the mountain.
Okay.
I've always just been at the waterfront or at ostrich farm.
You got some culture today, you say?
Yeah. I needed it. Yeah.
A little bit of culture is always good. But welcome to Langa. Welcome to Bridges for Music. So we're here today to talk a bit about your journey. We've got a room full of creatives, DJs, rappers, writers, singers. So I'm pretty sure everyone's keen to hear what you have to say today. But before anything, I want to take it back a bit. You said you started when you were 21. So back then, were you just producing or were you DJing?
Well, I started producing. I was just talking to my homie out there. I started producing on FL Studio 6. So if anyone uses FL Studio, you just know by the number. So I said it was a long time ago. And I started on FL Studio 6, and I think it just became 6. I think there was 5 right before, but it just became 6. And so I started producing when I was like 16. And I think every producer starts off as a rapper. So of course I was a rapper. and then my friend was a rapper, and then he was like, we need beats. And then I started my mom got me that FL Studio, and I started working when I was like 16, making beats. I was trash.
I think that's where we all come from. That's where we all start. Unless you're like a genius and you've been rocking it since.
There is people like that, and I'm really jealous of them. I know a lot of guys like that. They're just like super geniuses at the computer, but YouTube was my master.
Shout out the School of YouTube.
Yes.
And I bumped into an article of yours in like 2008. You were in high school. And I think one thing that really piqued my interest or intrigued me was your confidence. You were like, you already know you're like better than most of these guys and you're going to make it out and all of that. Where was that confidence coming from at such a young age?
I think because I was picked on growing up a lot. But I wasn't like picked on when you're picked on and like you're sad at home all day. Like I was just picked on. So like I became really tough myself. So I would be picking back at a lot of people too. So like that. And I think because being Spanish, being Latin, like you're supposed to be so tough. Even the women are, there's always that stigma of like the spicy Latin woman, like my mom was very spicy. Like my family, it was really spicy. And I grew up around women. When I grew up, it was like everyone in my family is women. Like there was like barely any men in my life. My dad wasn't around, but like I had my uncle and my aunt, who like I was raised with in Guatemala. But like growing up in DC and Maryland, with my family, like it was all women. So it was like grandma, my aunties, my cousins, like everyone's women. So like, I don't know if that hasn't something to do with like how I am, but I've always been like that. And it's been my pro and it's also been my con because, you know, in the world that we're in, there really isn't that many black people, especially in the electronic space, not the Amapiano space or the African space. I'm talking about like at a global level, like there isn't that many black people. You know, there's literally like a handful of us.
Thanks.
And especially, and it's even smaller if it's black people that come from the urban world and not from, you know, a space where they're, you know, like shouts out to Carl Cox, there's shouts out to Jamie Jones, but you're not going to see them hanging out with some rappers. You know, like it's two different types of, we already know how many different types of, you know, black people there are on this planet. You know, there's just different type. There's the more urban black people. There's some more, you know, people who are just more doing school and more, you know, there's just different types, you know.
That's
so
true.
People definitely coming from my side wearing, you know, I like to wear chains. I like to wear diamonds, you know. I like to be around fire women, you know, like that's just the world that I come from and I came up looking at and I idolized, you know. So like, you know, that definitely comes back into that confidence. But it also hurts me because I'm in a place where it's all majority white people. So of course that stigma of that angry black man, right? So like that's something that I don't think people ever get to hear because there isn't that many people in my position that hear it say like, yeah, like I deal with a lot of people in the industry that are white and that kind of already put this stigma on me that I'm like this like cocky black guy. But then you look at it as confidence.
Got you. Yeah, to me, that was, especially at such a young age, you really didn't, I don't know, it's just from my perception after reading that article was, you're so young and you're starting out, especially when you're starting out, your confidence, it's there, but then at the same time, you're told not to be too confident because that's going to be your downfall. So to sort of see someone that was that confident make it this far is absolutely beautiful, and I just really loved your confidence back then. You spoke a bit about being black within the EDM space. So you started off by making hip hop music.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my research, right, I'm like, okay, Gordo. So I go type Gordo, and then I'm like, oh, DJ Carnage. I know that person. So it was kind of crazy to see how you have evolved. I mean, back when you were doing hip hop, you were making music with like Lil Uzi Vert. That's so random. Who else? Young Thug. I'm pretty sure there's a lot that I'm forgetting about because of the nerves. But when does the shift happen where you like, okay, I've done this now, but then what makes you shift in towards the house and the EDM space?
Well, when I was like 17, 18, I got introduced like, so just for you to have like this mental like kind of image of like how this transition happened in my life just from the beginning was, you know, here, Diamante, I was born in Washington, D.C., and then I moved to live with my aunt in Guatemala. So I went from Washington, D.C., America, and then 2 years old, I got sent to my aunt, and I lived with my aunt, and I stayed in Guatemala till I was like 9, 10 years old. So I grew up in Guatemala. Then I moved back to America, and I lived back in the suburbs, Washington, D.C. area. And then when I was like in middle school, I went up north to like the really, really, really white country area.
Is it
in
like
Maryland.
the South or something?
It's like perfect example. Like I lived. I don't know if you ever heard of like where like president. If like anything were to happen to the president, he goes to Camp David. Is this place where like in the middle of nowhere,
Okay,
like far, far away. If anything happens, like I used to live right there, and like close to that, like in middle. See, this is something crazy because like I don't. People wouldn't experience. They experience this in their own way out here, but like over there. Like in middle school, I remember walking around in this like really, really white, right? It's called Walkersville, this town. It's super white. I remember in middle school, like on the ground one day, I saw like a KKK pamphlet, like a meeting, like the KKK is still active, you know? Like there's still like meetings and shit. Like so it's like that's stuff that you would never like see. It's just weird. So like me coming into this area and then like seeing stuff like that was just like really crazy. Like there's like National Drive Your Tractor to School Day, like really country American.
Aren't you like scared?
Yeah, super scared. There was only 10 black kids in my school, like all white.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and I'm in this area where like I have no friends. It's either if you're black and you're big boy, because I was way bigger back then. Like you play football, American football, or you're selling drugs, or you don't have friends. You just do weird stuff. I don't know, but I ended up obviously not selling drugs, and I ended up staying in my house because I had nothing to do, and that's when I got into producing. So when I was into producing, then I started hanging out with white friends, and I had a lot of white friends. And then my white friends introduced me to dance music.
Okay.
And they introduced me to, Above and Beyond. I was really, at that time, really into two things. I was really into trance, and I was really into hardstyle. But like Melbourne Shuffle, like back in the day, like hardstyle. And I just was really in love with the melodies. So I was just always a big melody guy. And I started going to like raves and stuff, and I was like, found it kind of interesting. I was never into drugs. I didn't drink or anything. And so like, I would just go. And like, then I was like, wow, I could kind of do this. And I like started DJing. I had a virtual controller DJ thing. It was like $100. And I started DJing and playing like little frat parties and stuff and college parties and stuff and like doing that stuff. And at the same time, I was rapping and doing the MySpace thing and producing for my friend. And then I started just like, I was like, okay, I can make rap beats. I can do whatever I was trying to make with dance music back then, and doing little things, and that just kind of just evolved into me. I dropped out of high school.
It's always the dropouts.
It's always the dropouts. I dropped out of high school because I just wasn't doing good with school. Just not because I was a bad kid. I just didn't do work. So I was like, I would rather always just be at home on my computer making a horrible beats all day than like doing homework, or I would just play football. Cool. So when I started doing that, and I was like, I dropped out of high school. I told my mom, I told my family, and obviously that was like the worst thing you could do, is drop out of high school. So don't drop out of high school. But like, I was like, yo, I'm gonna move to LA. I'm gonna become a big producer. Like, I got this, don't worry, guys. And then like went over there to LA, and something interesting, depending on how many producers are in here, I think majority of us know like the Cashmere packs, like the electronic Cashmere packs. So Cashmere, before Cashmere, his name was Cyrano from the Cataracts. Do you guys remember Like a G6? Like a G, dun, 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 dun. It's like one of the, yeah.
That was a hit.
Yeah, it was a big song back in the day. So Cashmere is that guy who made all those songs. He's one of those guys who said like a super. I mean, he makes sample packs. It's like you have to be kind of like insane to like just sit there and make sounds all day. He's insane. But he discovered me on the internet with my MySpace videos, like beat tutorials, and he like really fell in love with my beat tutorials, and he like was like, yo, I got a management, blah blah. I'm gonna sign you, blah blah. So then they signed me. I went to LA. Nothing happened, and I learned a lot. It was a lot of learning, but then nothing happened because my mom was like not talking to me. My family wasn't talking to me. They were like, yo, you didn't finish school, fuck off, basically.
We don't need you.
And so then I went back to finish school, and I went back and I finished school, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna figure it out. And I went, and my managers at the time had convinced, who is the president of Columbia now, Ron Perry, to get me a publishing deal for this one beat that I made. I don't know, you guys could research it. I don't know exactly when, but I had like my first big beat placement as a producer was Theophilus London and A$AP Rocky, Big Spender. And that was like, I don't know what year, that's maybe like 10 or 9 or I don't know.
Is this before your EP with Young Thug?
Yeah, way. This is like that photo of the high school, like the article you read.
Yeah,
like
that's in 08. That was in 2008.
Yeah. So it was in 08. So that's when I got that. And they had convinced the guy to give me $15,000. And he gave me $15,000 as a publishing check, which is insane, actually, if you think about it. Don't ever say yes to $15,000. But $15,000, and they were like, okay, cool, there's $15,000. Use half of it to pay for your rent in LA and use half it to live. 6 months later, the money's gone, and I'm broke. I have like $240 to my name, and I'm living in LA, and I'm just in the studio every day for 16 hours a day. They had like that my management at the time had like a whole setup, and the Cataracts, and they had all these artists and all these producers it was just like this. It was like a workshop. And but I was there, and I would literally just be there, and I would just be eating Subway and Chinese food or whatever that was cheap in downtown LA, and I would be there for 16 hours a day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. And during that time, is when EDM trap blew up. So like Flosstradamus, Bauer, Harlem Shake era, Tonight, Higher,
Party rock is in
it was that era was crazy, because then you had that type of EDM dance music. You had like Swedish House Mafia, you had David Guetta, it was just, I had a crazy story. I used to Skype with Martin Garrix when he was 14 years old. We'd Skype for 7 hours a day. He will tell you this to this day.
Talking about what?
Because I like just about music. We would just produce music. Like that was a time when I was just, I didn't have nothing to do. I didn't have a job. My job was figure your life out. So literally my life was, how do I become a better producer? How do I make the music I want to make? And how do I become a successful producer? Because I had Cashmere this entire time right here, super producer. He was producing for everyone, Justin Bieber, Enrique Iglesias, everyone. And I'm like, they're like, wow, like I want to be like that. So all I had to do was imagine if you like had your home and that was it, and you had a studio, and that's all you did every day. So like it was like a time of just like trying to digest so much stuff possible. And it was such an interesting time. But like when the EDM trap thing blew up, it was like, okay, I saw that, and I was like, and I looked at it like, yo, these are the same beats. Like if you look at Big Spender, like a lot of these beats, these EDM trap beats back in the day were just like a big 808 and a big weird sound. And it was like, cause you were being played at big clubs and festivals. So like if you go back to now, the trap music back in the day, you listen to some fire ones, but the majority of them was like really badly produced. Like they're just like, now with how production is and how talented everyone is, like, not saying it wasn't, but it was just a different time, Gotcha. A lot of my old songs that were like big viral successes, I listen to them now, they're horrible. But at that moment, at that time, it did its purpose.
So you never had like a regular job, like at Subway or something?
I did. I worked at a grocery store. I bagged.
Down.
And I worked at a retailing store, and like I worked there for like a month or two. And then I just always found a reason to not work, because I would just be like, football season's coming. Like I got a football. Like, but no.
I love the fact that it's actually like an important thing, because we all dream of being scouted, or that one big person finding us, and then you get there, you have so many expectations, and then it's like nothing happens. So how are you dealing with that? Because in your mind, you're like, I got scouted by this big guy, surely like I'm going to be the next big thing in Hollywood.
What I've learned in my experience is just don't like wait for someone to find you, or like wait for someone to like give you that chance. Like no one's going to give you that chance. Like I earned all of this on my own. I've done it all on my own, and I think it's different, and it's hard to have this conversation with the industry that I'm in, because they don't know how it is to be a black man, and they will never, and I was having a conversation with a homegirl outside, and the honest fact is that like, we're in a world that's, predominantly white. And there's, the smallest slight of racism that people won't understand, I still deal with every day. But, from just every day being, flying, like these are like first world problems, but like it's just a reality of it. Like just if you're trying to get to the level that I'm at, or your favorite DJ's level, like being a black person or a black man or black female, you're still gonna have to deal with the same shit that we deal with in regular life because of our skin color, But it's a beautiful thing, and it's also helped me become who I am because I'm black, because of my skin color. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, when Carnage first blew up, you have to remember like majority of these guys like Tiesto's and David Guetta's and Hardwell's and Swedish House Mafia, just the most iconic DJs you could think of like at that time. Like they didn't have, if you can go back in 2000, from 2010 to the last explosion of how dance music big got, it's literally, it's a handful of DJs that reached to the level of like this main stage worldwide
festival
level. Ultras, of Coachellas, of Creamfields, of the Bonnaroo's and Glastonbury's. Like it's very, 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 very small. So a lot of these guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, you can tell that they were happy that they had a black friend. Like they you can tell, we all have those white friends that like hanging out, you know what I'm saying? Like
my friend.
It's all good, like, and it is all good, but that's just the same way. Like I had a lot of those guys, the big guys. Here comes this big black guy and I have my gold chains on and I'm like playing super aggressive. I'm saying crazy shit on the mic, but I'm like DJing next to David Guetta.
Fire.
Which is like unheard of unless you are a Carl Cox or, a legendary DJ. But a lot of the more legendary black DJs that you had in our space were back in the day and not at this time.
Let's get into that. So how does your big break come?
I remixed Hardwell's Spaceman song, and at that time when EDM trap was blowing up, I was like, how do I separate myself from all these things, So we're talking 2012 era, 2013, when SoundCloud was really, really big, especially for dance music. And at that time, you didn't have like Spotify and stuff to have to deal with copyright and all that stuff. It was just like you put it up on SoundCloud, it's there, And I remember I did a remix. I just did it myself, and I literally just got the Hardwell Spaceman song. I took all the lows out of that song, the entire low, and then basically I just kind of kept the same structure, and I just sped it up from 128 to 140. I shortened it, and then I just put trap drums over the thing. But I kept, at that time it was like you would have trap, EDM trap back in the day, like the structure was different. So it was just it was different. But for me, I was like, I really like EDM and I want to make an EDM version of the trap music. So I basically just kept the song and just they were bootlegs basically. And I would just make a trap drop, but I would keep this long structure, dun, 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 and big, show, the big EDM breaks, but then it'd be a trap drop. Okay. And then I was like, that's cool, but what's gonna separate it more? So then I labeled it Festival Trap, and that's how the Festival Trap genre was born.
Fire! Congratulations, man!
Yeah, thank
You've
you.
been doing beautiful, beautiful work. So now thank you. So now you've broken in. You're playing amongst next to David Guetta. Hardwell's that's the guy.
Yeah.
You're playing Tomorrowland. People know you, and then COVID comes. How was that experience for you?
I have my gold chains on and I'm playing super aggressive. I'm saying crazy shit on the mic, but I'm DJing next to David Guetta. So we went from 2013 and now we're at 2020, right? So there's 7 years, right? 7 years of stuff that goes on. I become Carnage. Carnage becomes really, really big. But the thing was that you had half of my songs were these big EDM, big room songs, big room songs and house songs. And on the other side, all of my other big songs were rap songs. But I was an EDM DJ. I wasn't a rap DJ. I was an EDM DJ playing festivals. But all of my biggest songs were rap songs. So I was known for the guy who had big rap songs, but also was the EDM DJ. It was I didn't really have a place. I wasn't welcomed in by the hip hop community. I wasn't people were that's the hip hop producer. I wasn't Metro Boomin. I become Carnage. Carnage becomes really, really big. But the thing was that an 808 Mafia. But then I also wasn't being claimed as this super EDM producer guy also, right? So I was kind of in the middle, but the rappers knew that if you wanted to get into that world, you holler at Carnage. Or you hollered at Skrillex, or you hollered at Diplo, or you hollered at, DJ Snake or somebody, or A-Track, or, but remember, none of them are black. So that was my advantage, that the rappers felt comfortable enough with me to go to these raves where it's just all white people and everyone's it's a crazy difference from being at a rap concert to going to a Tomorrowland, completely different, right? So they felt comfortable with me, so I was kind of that bridge of rap into EDM. So the Carnage thing goes on. I dropped my album. My first album was had What Do You Want with Lil Uzi, Rich the Kid, ASAP Ferg, and that was 2014,
Those are huge
15.
names right now. They were just starting out back then.
Yeah. So I kind of was one of the first guys to work with Lil Uzi. And then at the same time, that was the same album that dropped Bricks with the Migos. And I liked I Love McConan. And those were my three big songs. And they were rap songs. But then I also at the same time had a couple big EDM songs. So then the Carnage thing happens, boom. I get really big, boom. And then what happens after you get really big? You start falling off. So then I started slowing down and the shit, it wasn't working for me that well.
Yeah.
And I was also gotten to really rebellious stage in my life where I just dealt with a lot of shit from being in this industry and not having anyone behind me. I didn't have Diplo rooting me on and like, he's my guy, don't touch him, nobody talk to him. I didn't have Skrillex saying, yo, this is my guy, nobody talk to him. I didn't have, a lot of these guys who were these big pioneers in this game in my time. No one, the only person I really kind of like put their arm around my shoulder were two people, which was Borgor, which was a big dubstep guy back in the day, and Steve Aoki. And Steve Aoki was the first guy that allowed me to play Tomorrowland because he had a stage. He was like, you're going to play Tomorrowland. I played for zero money. I paid for my own flight. Or maybe they paid for a flight. I don't remember. But it was something like that. I'm going to ask him, actually, if he probably doesn't damn now. But went over there to Tomorrowland and so whatever, I'm like, and then basically it gets to that point where I'm just sick of everybody's shit. I'm dealing with like, promoters and all these people like starting to play with me and like kind of not like move me around with everything. Like something's confirmed or like something is like playing with me basically.
So you don't have a team like
I had a full team, but like
where are they?
Even at that point, I'm a very personable person. So like the owners of these festivals, these biggest festivals in the world, like there's people, they're regular people. They're not like these like, you never see these people, like these normal people. So like I know these people. And obviously with all the stuff that I dealt with, like I had a very tough chest and I didn't allow a lot of people to fuck with my name. And I dealt with a lot of that, and that kind of burnt a lot of bridges because at that time, I was dealing with a lot and, I pissed off some people in my life. And that's just what happens in the way of the industry because you either stand up for yourself or you don't. And if you don't stand up for yourself, they walk over you. And if you do stand up for yourself, you're the cocky,
canceled,
angry black guy, So like it was a bit tough for me at that time. So then I came into 2020 in the COVID era, and I was trying to, I wasn't doing well. I'd gotten really fat. I was getting really big. I was really unhealthy, and it was a very dark time for me because I was like, I had the world in my hand. And then now I didn't have it anymore. And I was like, oh shit, like, what do I need to do? I'm still young. I'm 33. Then I was 28, 29. And then the COVID hits and I'm like, great. Now everyone's back at the same playing field. Everyone's back at zero, right? So then at the end of the day, I was like, cool. The only thing that I could do now, which I know that I'm good at, is make music. And at the time when everyone got locked in COVID, and everyone shut down, and everyone either went to play video games or start twitching or start streaming. I just went straight back to the studio, and I was at a point where I was like, I live with my grandma. My grandma is 91 years old, so I live with my grandma. Yeah, my grandma. I live with my grandma, and COVID hit, and we were in Vegas. I have a house in Vegas, and I was like, we were locked in the house. Like it was my first big house, my first big check. I was like, okay, cool. I'm living in Vegas. I had my residency in Vegas. So that was the reason I was in Vegas. And I like big home and I'm just like feeling so cold. And I'm just like, man, like this is not, I don't know how long we're going to be locked in, first of all. So I said, fuck it. And I put my house up for refinance and I went and moved to Hawaii. And I moved to Hawaii because I was like, I don't know how long we're gonna be locked up. So I'd rather just like take my grandma to like a place where probably no COVID, but COVID was everywhere. And we went to Hawaii and when I moved to Hawaii is when I started really appreciating sunsets. And
I love a good sunset.
And yeah, in Hawaii, like that's the most important part of the day. It's 6 o'clock or 7 or whatever the time of the year is. But like the most important thing is the sunset. And it was a time when like I just like was so over loud music. I was over loud, obnoxious music. I was over getting on the mic and going 1, 2, 3, jump. Like I was tired of that shit so much, and it wasn't doing it for me. And also it was like I would like play shows and I would feel like some old guy. I'm only like 29 years old and I'm feeling like I'm like some burnt old DJ. And I'm just like, man, this is just like not like I'm playing songs that like people would come up to me and be like, yeah, I grew up in middle school listening to you. And I'm just like, I'm only 10 years, I'm like 8 years older than you. Like, and they're just like treating me like some old guy. And I'm just like, I was like, this is not it. But so then I started diving in. If you look at the end of Carnage, dive into Carnage if you decide to or not. But like at the end of Carnage, I started doing house songs, like Letting People Go, and together with the Martinez brothers and Mike Dean. And I started doing like these house songs, but I didn't really fully dive in. And then the pandemic came, I moved to Hawaii. I was just like so in love with like peace and nature and like, you know, getting my mind right. And I just said, the only way that people are going to take me seriously is if I actually just cut that part of my life out and start brand new. And basically I just had like I evolved and I grew up and I think I became a man because it just, you know, the part like that, the EDM era and the partying and the raging and the mosh pits and having 100,000 people screaming and me like just screaming. And I was drinking then. I don't drink anymore. I'm almost 5 years, no alcohol. I didn't have a problem, I just, you gotta remember, like as a DJ, like every night you're at a party, you're like,
it's a tough one, that
taking
one.
shots, you know, like when I would get home, I would never drink. So it wasn't hard for me. It wasn't hard for me to stop drinking. It was just like, I just like stopped it to clear my head. And basically, yeah, I just started falling in love with house music and Afro house and stuff with just more soul. Because you got to know, like, and I talked to Sebastian Ingrosso about this a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, yo, it's crazy how, you know, I hate this. I don't want to. People could love to take this the wrong way, but like it's like dance music where it's at is very white. It's very, very, very white. And what I mean as to that, if someone doesn't understand what that means, is like there isn't that much soul. And the only soul that has come out of dance music recently in the last era of music was Afro house.
Gotcha.
That was the only thing as of recently. I could have an argument with some random German DJ here, and he'd be like, "No, this song is soul." Like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I know what soul is. We know what soul is. You know, like soul, and there's barely any of it other than if it's coming from Afro and the culture of that. There is soul coming from Latin America, but it's not. You know. They have their own world and their own blend of dance music. You know, dance music, the term dance music, I mean, it's anything that makes you dance, any makes you rhythm, and we all know who has the most rhythm on this planet, you know.
Period.
You know.
Period.
So, you know, like African and Latin people and Indian people, colored people in general, brown people, like we live off of drums, right? That's our life. So you can't tell me what soul is if your ancestors don't come from that world.
Ish. So you say, okay, I'm sort of like done with Carnage now. I'm becoming this new person and this new being, which is Gordo. And you describe Gordo as a new way of life and a new way of thinking. So I'm very curious about which aspects of Carnage you kept as Gordo.
I think the perfect example of that is that yesterday I went and hung out at the flats. What was the place called? Bishop?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of white DJs that would go and hang out there. So if that answers your question.
And music or like fashion?
like
or like
that's like yeah, like I still love rap music. You know, like I love rap music. I love urban culture. I think a lot of us come from that in any way possible. Like urban culture has become such a way of life for us, you know, even from our sneakers to our clothes to our music to our style to our hair to everything, right? And like I love rap music. I appreciate it. You know, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, Drake, Kanye. These are like my goats, right? So like, if I'm coming into a space where I'm making dance music, you know, I still love to be able to bring that world to this world, so I can present this to this world, because it's always an interchange of energy, right? So it's like I take energy from here, comes to here, takes it from there, takes it from there, takes it from there. So, you know, on my last album, obviously, you know, working with Drake or working with, you know, Young Dolph, you know, who passed away, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Putting Young Dolph on a tech house record is unheard of.
Unheard of, yeah.
You know, so
Thanks.
I try to, as much as possible, to remind people, you know, that that's what I come from. I come from like wanting to have diamond jewelry, and I want to be, you know, living the life, as you know.
I think that's what a lot of people don't get, especially with like being flashy, is that way back in the day, a lot of African people, a lot of black people wore a lot of gold. And like gold is a very sacred resource to us as well. So whenever people are always commenting on that, I'm like, you don't know history, and that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
So I want to know a bit on the business side. What does what does a rebrand look like? Because you went from being DJ Carnage to Gordo. Like in terms of marketing and business wise, what did that rebrand look like?
It went from, remember, it's COVID time, so like everyone's at zero. There isn't really anything going on. But I sacrificed a lot making that decision. I think the people who around me, the team and the people in the industry, or whoever was working with me in some way of like business, musically, like they understood how much I sacrificed. So, you know, perfect example, like with the Carnage thing, I had a full residency in Las Vegas, and I was playing in Las Vegas. I had 16, 20 shows a year, and they were paying me really well. And COVID closes back, and we're coming back in, and, you know, I just wasn't happy playing Vegas and feeling like some weird old DJ. So I kind of had to cut my residency, and my team wasn't happy about that, obviously. So imagine I'm throwing millions of dollars away. I just wasn't happy, you know? And I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, like I'm the richest guy. Like, no, like not at all. Like I'm nothing compared to what a lot of these guys, you know, make. But in reality, that was a tough loss for me. You know, I come from, you know, having no money. So when I had the money, and then I had the money and I could keep making the money, it wasn't making me happy. So I decided to cut that out, and we lost that deal because I was like, I don't want to do Carnage shows anymore. And because of that, we started brand new. The COVID time was going on, and there weren't that many shows going on. Or there were shows, I don't know how it was out here, but like there was like illegal parties. Were there illegal parties out here? Or secret parties? Yeah. There was. Okay, good. There was good. Yeah. They were the best. They're the best. They're the best. So for me, you know, the only place in America that was open was Florida and Miami. So at that time, if you're a DJ and you just didn't care, you just wanted to survive, like you go and do a show in Miami, but then on social media, everyone was like, why are you going to play? Like COVID, people are dying. And at that moment, a lot of people didn't care about me, so I didn't really give a fuck. I went and started playing, and I started doing the Gordo stuff, and like going to really learn about that stuff and kind of like take the culture on and try to like figure that out. And so it was a lot of hand to hand. You know, imagine this. I've been doing this for 13 years now, and like I have like a business manager, I have a lawyer, I have management, I have agencies, I have, you know, there's people that if when you become a DJ and you become a successful DJ and there's income coming in, you have to have certain things for everything, right? So when I had all these things, it wasn't that drastic of a change because I was like, okay, cool, I'm just changing my name. Really, the losing money part was the bigger part. But like, you know, The fucked up thing about this is, I don't think people don't talk about it, is I had a deal signed as Carnage before I changed my name. And I was signed as Carnage. My bad. I wasn't signed as Carnage. I wasn't signed as Gordo. I was signed as Diamante. So because I was signed as Diamante, I can change my name to a million times. They still own me.
Yeah.
So the business thing didn't have to change because I was still locked in.
Okay.
So right now, when this album just came out, that was a Carnage album when it first started 4 or 5 years ago, but then it came out as a Gordo album. Still doesn't matter because on paper it's Diamante's album. So yeah, the business thing wasn't, it wasn't that crazy. It was more of how far do you want to push this?
So with Gordo, you haven't been just killing stages, killing albums, and having amazing features out there. You've also created this movement with Taraka. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And without saying it's AI, what is Taraka? Ubuntu. Yes.
That's what Taraka is.
Okay, we get you.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Because a lot of us as well, especially here at Bridges, we taught different aspects of music business, and eventing and events management is one of them. What made you want to host your own events?
I think one of the most important things that I want you guys to all know is that you don't really need anything. You can do it all on your own. I run all my social media. I do all my own marketing. I make all my posts. I come up with my own graphics. Obviously with teams, my video treatments, I come on my video treatments. Don't get that confused. I think that's the biggest thing I want people to know that are trying to be in the position that I'm in or bigger than me or whatever you're trying to do. But in music, you don't need, other than the basic ones that I told you, like your agency, wherever you're going to get booked, you need an agency. You need business manager to take care of your money. There's a lot of big guys that have their parents do that stuff, but I just don't like to mix family with business. So you get your business manager to take care of your bills, your thing, travel agent, or you can, these are all the things that like at that level, like all the big guys have, but from the beginning you can have your homeboy do everything, so it doesn't mean like you need it.
Shout out to the homies.
Yeah, to the homies, but these are kind of things you need, and you need a lawyer. That's the number one most important thing. You need a lawyer. So, if you have those things, it's like, you're kind of set. But everything else, like as an artist, making anything, blah, blah, like you could do it all on your own.
So when can we expect a Taraka event in Cape Town?
I would love to do that. I want to. Taraka was just more of a thing where like I wanted my own party, just how Shimza has Kunye and, what Coffee has. And, you have these parties like El Ro. You have these parties like Solid Grooves, Circo Loco. Kind Music has their parties. Like everyone has their own event and where they can curate their own lineups. And I don't have to deal with some guy telling me, hey, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. Yes, this guy. I don't want to listen to somebody tell me what I can do, what I can't do at my own party, especially if I'm the one selling the tickets.
So you've also been heavily motivated to inspire change through education. Talk to me about the various education centers that you're opening up back home in Guatemala.
I've built 2 schools in Nicaragua, and I've built a school in Guatemala, and one's half school, half orphanage, church. So that's the thing. Like I grew up in Guatemala, so I've seen poverty. I've seen the worst of the worst. I grew up seeing people high off glue on the street. Like I've seen some bad stuff, as a lot of us have in our lives. Growing up in a semi to third world country, you see a lot. So like that's been a thing that's always been stuck with me, especially if I'm gonna go and spend money on some stupid shit. Like at least the least that I could do is like give back to where I come from. So, but like these aren't like music schools. These are like primary, like kids learning how to read, right? Like they have holes in their roofs, and it's just like for the entire town, which in Spanish we call pueblo, which is a township, los pueblitos. But basically, yeah, just trying to do something, because I don't really ever see anybody fucking building schools. It's like really rare, especially for us as a DJ. Like a DJ, being a DJ is like a pretty, like if you get it right going, like it's a pretty sustainable job. You could DJ for the next 40 years, you know? But like if you're not giving back and helping back to the actual people who actually need it, then it's kind of pointless. So Taraka is just kind of this movement that I just created that supports up-and-coming producers, up-and-coming talent, especially of brown color, Hispanic, Black. And we also love to be able to use that to give back and help orphanages and women's homes and anything that I could do, because I know a lot of people don't know, but Africa is a lot alike South America. It's a lot alike.
We get told that a lot, yes.
Oh, I mean, it's like South America. You'll go to places. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and I've always thought this since the first time I came to Cape Town. Cape Town looks exactly like Santiago, Chile. And if you look at the map, it's literally the same. So like there's these, exactly what we deal with in different places. It's the same shit all over the world. And everyone, so there's no excuse for you to say, hey, I come from this. Don't ever use that, because we all live, at the end of the day now, which is sad, is that we live on the internet, right?
Ish.
At the end of the day, our music, anything we're doing here has to end up on the internet, right? And then there's places where you don't have internet. That's the only downfall that you would have. But if we're at a place where you have internet, like big studios, I was talking to my boys out there, like, you don't need a big studio. I work out of my laptop, and I finished the Honestly Nevermind Drake's album. I finished that at the airport in a regular plane, or like in the bathroom, or like anything possible. So you don't really need that stuff. I want people, you know, because I see online so much about how many people like complain about stuff. And like, you're talking to a Black man that ended up where I'm at, facing all these different things with no one that helped me, and I made it all happen. So if I can do it, and I'm not the best, anybody can do it. There's no excuse of getting whatever you need to get done, because you see it all. The lowest of the lowest become the biggest rappers in the world. Black Coffee, one of the highest paid DJs in the world, he's Black. It's possible. Everything is possible. So just focus on that.
So you described you going into the house scene as an act of reclamation.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about that, but also, how do you see house music evolving in the future?
It just depends. I don't know. I wasn't alive then, so I can't really talk about. That's the sad thing. I can't talk about, and I also don't come from the DJ culture. I come from the rap world. So if we want to talk about a rap conversation about 50 Cent and Lil Wayne and back then, I can talk all day about rap shit, right? But like with dance music, I wasn't alive in the time where you had, you know, your Mills and, you know, the icons from back in the day that created techno. You know, techno was created by Black people, by the Black community, by the gay community. We invented this thing, which is the biggest genre in the world, yet the biggest people running it are not of our color, but yet we created it. So that's the imbalance. That's the kind of thing that I don't like. And then obviously, you know, that we can list a name of the thousands of Black DJs. Obviously, there's hundreds of thousands of Black DJs. But to get to the position where I'm at, there isn't that many that get to experience that, you know? So it's just you know, I just want to do anything that I can to remind people that Black people created this world. And that's all I could do.
Okay, with that, we're nearing the end. I just would like to know, what advice do you have for young producers or DJs trying to break into the industry while keeping their artistic freedom?
Just don't listen to anybody. People talk shit about me every day. That does not faze me at all. Just do you. Find your people. Whatever you're gonna do, if you're a videographer, if you're a rapper, if you're a writer, if you're a producer, if you take photos, if you make music videos, anything you do, I promise you, there are 8 billion people on this planet. If you can't convert 1,000 people on this planet to support you, then you shouldn't be doing this. But there's 8 billion people in this world. It is literally impossible for you to tell me that you're not able to create a community of your own that supports your art. It's impossible. So the only thing is that you have to find your people. And that's the issue with social media because, I have 1.6 million followers on Instagram, and yet I post a story, it only reaches a quarter of the people that follow me. But yet Instagram says, hey, how about you pay more for ads? And then you could reach your audience, So you have to find your audience and find a way to communicate with them. And then the audience and your fans, if they love you and they support you, they're going to support you. How many of us have things that we support? If it comes with food, hair salons, nails, clothing, anything, we all have something we support, and we don't even want to tell our friends because it's too cool. We don't want to. We gatekeep our own shit from our own friends. It's just fucked
is
up.
Important sometimes.
We do this.
It's important sometimes.
So it's like it's impossible. Just find your crowd, find your people. Yeah, people talk shit about you and they hate on you, cool. But if you're getting bigger and you're succeeding more, the best revenge in life is success. So just never forget that. If someone's talking shit about you and saying you can't do this, come back at them tenfold and be like, what now?
Thank you. That's such beautiful advice. I really enjoyed speaking with you today. I wish we could have more time to dissect and expand and all of that. But I guess we have to do another one on my platform this time.
Let me know.
We have some time for questions. So hopefully I'm being correct with that. So if you've got any questions, shoot your hand up and someone should come with the mic.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm not used to speaking on the mic, but I'm a music producer as well. So I wanted to ask, knowing that you have so much love for rap, but you doing another genre now, the house and everything, how do you stay disciplined within the genres?
And it's funny because I'm like the one guy that proudly walks around and says, I have zero discipline. You're talking to a guy, a black man, whose name is Gordo, which is a Spanish name for fat, that produces for Drake, but then also DJs for 12-hour sets. And then at the same time produces an album called Diamante, and then at the same time has a really big song in Argentina and Spain. I have no boundaries, no discipline. I think that's how we should all live, because I feel like then you should never, the only thing I do tell everyone is, okay, cool, if you want to do a million different things, if you're good at a bunch of different things, great, right? But master the one thing first, and then when you mastered that, then you move on to the next thing. And not just try to master 4 or 5 different things at the same time. Pick one thing, become really good at it, and then you move on to the next one. So I think that's what I did with Carnage, was I got really good at doing that. And then I was like, okay, I need a new challenge. How do I become the biggest Spanish DJ in the world, Yeah. And we made it happen in a year and a half. So it was just something that was just you can't have discipline. You have to just go, master the one thing, and then go. And that's really all you really can do, Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
No, thank you.
Sure.
Here in the front.
Hey, how's it, man? My name is Mandy. I'm a music producer, performer, known as Digital Sangoma. And thank you, Bridges, for this. And thank you for such a being wonderful host. And yeah, welcome to Cape Town and welcome to South Africa as Gordo. I think this is your first time. So one question that I have is, coming from the EDM and hip hop, listening to your production now, I think, it's beautiful. I love the music. It's very simple. And I'm just trying to find out as a producer, the transition coming from hip hop and all the other music that you produce, being an incredible sound designer that you are. What was the transition? Because when I listen to your house and Afro house tunes, they're very simple but very infectious in a way. So what would you say was the biggest challenge with that, or transitioning into that, if that makes any sense?
I think musically, I was always a melody guy. And if my thing that I've always done, if you look at my just all the bigger songs I produced in my life, I've always made it to myself, and I think that goes back with me being a DJ, that I was literally having a conversation with my boy. I asked my boy, what's the biggest song you play? Like the biggest song you'll hear, if a DJ plays a song and it's the first 3 seconds, and everyone has those songs, as soon as you hear it, everyone goes crazy, right? So me, for production, it's rare that I have something where it's like kind of like the song comes in and it becomes like this evolution of the song, you know? If you listen to, I think, damn near all of my biggest songs, the first 5 seconds of it, you know what song it is. And I think as a producer, that is one of the most important things you should do. Because whenever you produce a song, the fucked up thing is that now, there's some Amapiano songs that are 8-10 minutes long. There's some Afro House songs that are 8-10 minutes long, right? And that's great for DJ if you need an intro and an outro and you need, you want to put in someone on the journey. But we're talking about in a place now where then you guys, pretty sure you guys this, but DSP is cool. You're uploading a song on Spotify. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get someone to replay your song as much as possible. And then if you're making a dance song, if you go to someone or a label, they're gonna be like, okay, give me the radio edit. And the radio edit is the version that gets uploaded on Spotify. So literally they tell you to start the song at the most memorable moment, so everyone just loops it. So how I produce is I try to, if you go to every song, it's either it starts from the beginning or there's a really, really prominent sound that, okay, you know this song. But to like the simplicity thing, it's like, I always tell everyone, like, I'm not a super producer. Like, I have homies who I could put in right now and I'd be like, make a Amapiano song, and then 5 minutes it's like an incredible Amapiano song. I'm not like that. I'm more of like, I'll stay in front of my computer, smoke, talk shit on my phone, and like try to come up with the chord. Okay, I like this sample. Okay, I'm gonna go upstairs, get some popcorn. I'm gonna go smoke again. Like, I'm like that type of producer. But sometimes, when you're clicking and you're producing and something's just boom, 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 and then you'll make a song, you're like, So sometimes it's like that, but I'm one of the laziest, most undisciplined producers you'll ever meet. But the ideas come out, and I think, and that's something that I learned from Drake too. Being around Drake, it was like, simplicity is so important. Stop overthinking things. A lot of the biggest songs in the world, Rich Baby Daddy, Sexy Red and Drake. I produced that record, and it's a very simple beat, but the song has, almost 500 million streams already, and I made that beat in my kitchen, So like, and it's a super simple thing, but it's just all about getting the most right elements. That's the thing, like the genius of being a producer, because there's beat makers and then there's producers. Beat makers are guys that you get on the beat and they'll make 50 beats for you and they're great. But then a producer is a person that goes, okay, cool, you play really good piano, make me these chords right here, boom. These drums, I'm gonna get these drums right, I'm gonna get these hi-hats right. Oh, you play the saxophone? Yeah, can you play the saxophone? Give me this little melody that I can pitch warp and I could bring it down a couple semitones. Okay, cool. And then now I'm gonna structure, right? Like, that's a producer. And I think people have this thing of like this blurred line of like ghost producers and like what he really did or he doesn't produce any of his music. Cool, I could give one fuck if you didn't touch the fucking computer. But if you came up with the idea and you finished it, what's the difference between somebody who prepares the food and the chef? So at the end of the day, if the food's good, I don't give a fuck who made the fucking plate. I could care less. As long as the food is good and the food is then I'm cool. And a lot of people are like me, where they're like, cool, just give me good music. But then there are other people that are respectable people that we understand will be like completely like, no, like it needs to be true. It needs to be from someone, and I get that argument too. But as I said, like, I don't care.
Easy. You got two more questions, I think. Okay.
Hi, I go by the name Pango. Pango, yeah.
That's lit.
Yeah. So I'm thank you. So I'm a producer, DJ. Originally, I'm from Zimbabwe. I moved here like 13 years ago, and I'm still here. So I struggled as well, and it's kind of picking up a little bit. I've gotten into teaching and helping youngsters as well, like to do well. And one thing that I've noticed recently is, Afro House is sort of changing, and because a lot of labels that with like the reach and the numbers to get you on like Beatport and all that stuff. They're like international labels.
Yeah.
So what advice, and I figured if you go on like Beatport 100, it's literally, they sound exactly the same. Like it's like they're using the same beat and just put vocals and stuff. But us, we are so obsessed with like that Afro house, like, we speak, percussion and all that stuff. And it's very difficult for us to get that music signed because the labels are saying, nah, it's not for us because it doesn't sound like the stuff they, What advice would you give to a producer and who doesn't want to like follow the masses, who wants to stay true to their originality and create something that's unique,
I've never, as Gordo, I've never had a number one Beatport song. I've never had any big Beatport success. So don't worry about Beatport. That's the first thing. Yeah, a lot of it sounds the same at the bigger, I guess, level. Getting your song signed to a certain extent, yes, it means something to a label that you appreciate a lot of music that comes out that, yes. But at the same time, it don't mean shit. You can release the song on your own and it still reaches the masses. It might be harder, but you created that community where you're signing a record and hoping that you get accepted by that community. So either you make your own community or you try to piggyback off of someone else's community. So I decided to do my own community, and it worked out for me. I did okay, I guess. So I'm pretty sure it will work out amazing for you too, brother. Like, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about Beatport. And I do understand the thing, like, and here, because Afro House and I'm a piano and all this stuff, like, there's so much, it's so deeper in here, like, with the production, like, I can introduce you to some Chinese kid in China who's making Afro House. You'll be like, whoa, like,
What's this?
Yeah, he's nice. And it's some kid in Shenzhen, China, But like, remember, these kids are also idolizing what you guys have in your backyard. Like they're looking at it and they're on YouTube and looking at Black Coffee and be like, I want to do that. Looking at Kind Music and being like, oh, look, there's 3 white guys who are the biggest Afro House DJs in the world. It's possible. Anything's possible. And I think that's the beauty of it. But I think, like, I get it. Like, if you're into that, then if you're into more of the more in-depth production of it, then go ahead and make the best of it, But it is also a time where, like, I'm also telling you guys, like, it's a game. We're in a game. This is a business, right? So you have to play the game. And if you want to want to succeed in life or get to wherever you're at, you got to play the game. At the end of the day, you got to be smart about your business. It's a business, right? So if you have a business and you're selling beer, and you either can sell the best beer or you can sell shittier beer that costs less. Depends on what community you want to bring to your stand. So yeah, it depends. So yeah.
Cool. Can I say, Gordo? My name is Atum Kido. I'm a producer.
Legend.
Come on, man. You a legend.
No cap.
So yeah, my question is about Afro House. As a producer, sometimes it gets tricky. You don't know what really resonates with people. Is it the drums? Like, because I'm a producer from back then. Because back when Afro House started, it became Afro House because it was tribal house. It was mostly about percussion. But now, there's a lot of chords, there's a lot of, melodic elements in it. But according to you, what do you resonate with more on an Afro House track?
I just love how black it is. Yeah.
Someone asked, what makes it black?
It's black. Afro House is pretty black. I mean, like, as I said, that goes back to the thing when I go, like, dance music is very white. Yeah, like, majority of these big vocals are like, these, what's been popular in EDM and what's been popular in dance music for the last 10 years. And even people, like Swedish House Mafia, Don't You Worry Child, these iconic dance records at the highest level, David Guetta, like, they were all like these, these big, David Guetta not. David was the guy that kind of used a lot of more black singers, but majority of these big songs, Armin van Buuren's and all these guys who are these massive superstars, Martin Garrix, Alesso, all the singers that singing those songs were like white singers, like these indie, very unique, strong vocals. And it wasn't like a soulful sister or a soulful brother, singing from the, that used to sing gospel and choir, that's where that music came from back in the day. that's where dance music comes from, is sampling disco records and sampling soul records and turning them into these classic house records, right? Chicago and Detroit. But yeah, like, I was just, in my world, it was just, how loud can you make your synths? How loud you can make your drop? And the Carnage was like boom, boom. And the rap music, I had that thing where I could, it was fun for me being surrounded by all these, in this world, and then being able to go and hang out with rappers and like smoke with them and shit, like that was cool for me. But and then with like dance music, it became so soulless to me that when I saw Afro House and I fell in love with it years ago, I didn't get it at first. I'm not gonna lie to you, because remember, I'm Hispanic. So if we're talking about Spanish music and merengue and salsa and stuff like that and bachata, like I grew up with that shit, like growing up in my family. But my family, there's a lot of gay people in my family. So a lot of them were voguing and growing up listening to, Roger Sanchez and Louis Vega and Danny Tenaglia and that type of what was really prominent in the gay scene in New York and New Jersey. So it's time for the percolator. And that type of house music was what I saw growing up. I never saw the African side or the Afro house side or, this type of side of culture, because back then the internet wasn't a thing. So, now, as I said, the kid in China knows all what about everything what's going on here, because just 1-2 clicks on the internet. But yeah, I love how Afro House is just so, the vocals and the music and the rhythm is just so black, and it's good to hear, and that's why I think I kind of just scooted over more to this side than trying to make some songs with a bunch of talented, incredible singers that don't have that, You can tell the difference between an American amapiano song and an African amapiano song, right? It's the same with Afro House, and it's the same with dance music, I can tell. But sometimes there's some white boys that got rhythm, so it kind of throws you off a little bit, for sure, yeah.
Okay, easy. Sorry, I think you can catch him after this. But thank you so much for coming today.
We could do that one more question. He was going to do one more question. It's fine. I feel bad.
Okay.
I feel bad. I don't want nobody to try to fight me outside.
Last question. Okay, they're saying we're good for time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'll try and make it quick. I'm a producer from South Africa, and
Cool.
I want to talk about shelf life of tracks and self-releasing, creating your own network and your own community, but still staying somewhat relevant and being able to reuse tracks that you self-release. Do you have any advice as to how to stretch that out, or do you think it's better to just self-release and then play those tracks at your gigs, not really worry too much about streams?
I know what you mean. It depends. I'll do this fast. It depends, because the Diamante album I started 4 years ago, and it just came out in July. And a lot of those records I would play sometimes here and there and stuff right now. But it's weird. We're in a weird place where my first big song as Gordo was the song called Hombres y Mujeres. And it was kind of like the first Latin tech house, like how you guys have Afro tech, then there's Latin tech. And it was kind of like the biggest one of that kind of movement that happened. But that song had been out for a year, and then it blew up. So then that's kind of the thing, I've never really had that happen to me, really. Whenever I have a big song. But that was one of those times where I hear conversations of people being oh, it takes a while, and that's why the labels sign you, because they know that, okay, cool, even if you die or if the song doesn't do shit, 10 years from now the song might blow up on TikTok, and they own that song, so they're not tripping. So that's the thing, the shelf life thing is weird, because then you have a better chance releasing it on your own, because if you put it out and the song blows up 10 years from now, that money's going back to you, buddy, and not to them that gave you a fat check and tricked you into being okay, yeah, I'm going to sign this album, and then next year I'll sign it. Because if you go into these deals, if you really go deep into it, they're okay, they'll have the song, and they'll be okay, cool, if you have the song, then I'll have it for 8 years, and then if your next label wants to buy, your next publisher wants to buy, they got to buy it off us, and it's just it gets really dark, really, really dark at the higher level. So the best thing to do is to not have to deal with anybody and just do it on your own and just release it and just fucking see. Yeah, that's the hard part. Is like you do it yourself, and as my man like that, you do it your own. You don't get assigned to a label, and it might not reach to where you wanted to reach that fast. But sometimes if you hit luck, then the song blows up and all that money goes to you.
Thank you. And when playing your tracks at like festivals, did the crowd always just eat it up because it was your track that you were playing, even though they heard it last summer or last gig?
Yeah. It depends on how big that moment is. So if the moment with that song is, if you have a moment on TikTok, right? Because that's like they said like 35% of music now in the world is being discovered on TikTok, which is a big chunk. Like those people, like if you have a viral moment, whatever song you create or art or whatever, that moment, people are going to hone into that moment, right? So if you have a song and you have that dance, I'm a piano dance to that dance, everyone wants to see you dance when you're doing that, when that song comes on. So it really depends on how viral that moment is. And if you want to just keep feeding that beast of whatever that is to how big that is, that's like me if I want to just keep pushing healing and I just go hang out with Uncle Don every day, and like me and him are TikToking every day. Like that's just me feeding that beast, but I think it's just, let it be what it is. And I think just have your faith in your own gut.
Easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're wrapping it up. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you make some beautiful music whilst you're still in South Africa.
Thank you.
And you get to meet the brew.
What's your name? Your other name?
Mbasa. That's her real name. Ghost Bunny.
Ghost Bunny.
Yeah, that's
sick.
Shout out. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you.